Welcome to Epic Begins with One Step Forward, the podcast that reveals how to plan, achieve, and enjoy the journey of creating epic results in your life, business, health, and relationships. Here's your host, best-selling author and motivational speaker, Xander Sprague.
Hello, Epic people, and welcome back to another exciting episode of Epic Begins with One Step Forward. I'm your host, Xander Sprague, and today I am honored to be joined by Michael Morgan. Michael, tell us who you are and what you do.
Thank you for having me on your show, Xander. So my name is Michael Morgan. I am an author as well as a motivational speaker. So I published my first book last year called The Power of Networking. Currently on tour, I would say, speaking at conferences, universities, companies, organizations. On top of that, I have a pretty vast wide work experience. I've worked for JP Morgan, Chevron, Amazon, Walmart. I'm currently working at a startup in cybersecurity called Netscope. So I've worked in financial services, oil and gas, tech, retail, cybersecurity. Through all my work experience, I was able to write the book, and now I'm giving guidance and advice to other people to help them.
That is awesome. I love networking. I think it's kind of fun, and it's not nearly, in my opinion, it's not as hard as people sometimes make it. So I wanted to know, what you think about networking, because you obviously wrote a book on it.
Yeah, I look at it as fun as well. To your point, I know so many people that are scared and they see it as an intimidating task, overwhelming. They don't want to put themselves in the situations. They think, worst case scenario, I'm going to go to this networking event and not going to get along with anybody or not have any meaningful conversations. And honestly, a lot of the times when I try to encourage people to get into these networking situations and events, they realize it's not as bad as they thought, and they actually get meaningful conversations and make some meaningful connections out of it. But me personally, I look at networking as part of my job.
Oh,
So
absolutely.
yeah, I
Yeah,
network within my company. I network outside of my company. I network. I'm focused on a certain amount of time per week, per month, where I'm trying to build those relationships and maintain relationships.
absolutely. And one of the years ago, I was asked to give a talk about networking, and I got thinking. I thought, okay, I mean, I know how to network. I'm a super social person. I like to talk to people and stuff. And I thought, well, what can I do? And what I want to say for the audience is, there's networking that is so easy. Think about people that you went to high school with, or college, or you've worked with right there. If there are 10 people that you went to high school with, I'm sure you can think of them. In this day and age, it's much easier to find people. I mean, we do a Google search, we look on LinkedIn, whatever. You could probably find people. Reach out to them, even if you haven't talked to them for 10 or 20 years. It doesn't matter. Hey, just calling, interested to know what you're doing. Right there's 30 people that you get to network with, and they're people who already know you. Just because you don't work at JP Morgan anymore doesn't mean you don't know people who still work there. And why couldn't you call them and go, hey, do you have any, as we're both motivational speakers, right? We got a network. And we call people who know us, who might be able to say, hey, Michael is a really great, really great speaker. Why don't we bring him in so we can talk to the managers or whatever? What are some of your tips for people on how to network?
Yeah. So I'd say first and foremost, you have to put yourself in situations where you can meet new people. Like I said, I know some people are more intrinsic, some are more extrinsic. I wouldn't tell people to jump off the deep end and go to an event that has 10,000 people and they have to make thousands of connections.
Yeah.
But if you're not at least putting yourself out there, you won't be able to make new connections. So, like at my job, most companies have employee resource groups. I think joining those groups is an easy way to meet other people who might be outside of your team, outside of your function, that you can build relationships with. I like being in the office. So my job is currently is fully remote, but whenever possible, I'm making the trip to the office so that I can meet new people, I could build relationships, even with the people I already know, there's something to be said when you have that face-to-face interaction as opposed to over a
Absolutely.
Zoom call. um,
Absolutely.
Outside of work, I'm joining different organizations. In Austin, I'm a part of an organization called Cyversity, which is trying to get more diversity in cybersecurity. I work in cybersecurity, so that's a great way for me to meet other people outside of my job. They're in the same industry, the same function. I've joined National Black MBA Association, which is another organization that's just professionals that are trying to excel in their career. So I'm attending conferences regularly. There's a conference in Austin in 2 weeks called InnoTech, which is a cybersecurity focused conference. And that's another way for me to meet people. So I'm joining organizations, I'm attending networking events, I'm attending conferences, I'm finding these different opportunities to meet people as much as possible. And then the second piece is maintaining the connection, which is the hardest part. It's
That
very
is,
easy,
yeah.
very easy to make a new connection. It's difficult to maintain it. So similar to what you were saying, I try to leverage social media. So like LinkedIn is one of my favorite tools where I can see someone in my network who's just promoted or just started a new job, just obtained a new certification, and I'll reach out and send a note like, "Hey, I haven't spoken to you in a while. Congratulations on your new job. Would love to catch up. Do you have 30 minutes for a phone call
Hmm.
or 30 minutes for a Zoom meeting?" So I'll try to find different opportunities where I could just regularly reach out to people, whether it's a message on LinkedIn, whether it's through text, whether it's through email. But I'm trying to find a good cadence for each individual, and everyone might be different. There's some people in my network that I speak to every week. There's some people monthly, some quarterly, but I'm making sure that I'm regularly keeping in touch with people so there's not a lapse in time where 5 years pass, 10 years pass.
Sure.
What I've seen throughout my career is that people will make a connection, they won't speak to them for 5, 10 years, and all of a sudden they need something.
Yeah.
I need a referral, I need a job, I need help with my resume. And now you start reaching out to people when you need them. That could rub people the wrong way. You can
Absolutely.
start burning bridges where you haven't talked to me in 5 years, and the first time you reach out is when you want something, as a
Absolutely. But
as
also,
opposed to
I'll say the counterpoint to that is if you're just reaching out to reestablish connections, because again, that happens. Life gets going. You just there's that person, and you don't want anything from them right now. You just want to reach out and go, "Hey, how are you? I'm curious. What are you doing?" Right? That's a way for me that I will reestablish that connection. And then down the road, I might say, in 6 months, I think I want to speak at a cybersecurity conference. So I'll keep Michael in mind. Maybe I didn't talk to you for 6 months or a year, but I reach out and go, just, hey, what are you doing? You're still working in cybersecurity. Just get curious. Most people, just from a psychological standpoint, will, if you ask them questions about themselves, they will talk a little about what's going on, that they've got a new job, they're doing this or that. And social norm usually means that people ask what you're doing in return, which is an awesome opportunity for you to share, hey, I'm so excited. I just came out with a book, right? You get to drop that you have a book now, right? You're
yeah,
not
exactly.
bragging. You're just like, and so understanding the psychology of communication is key.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree. And to your point, I don't see anything wrong with if there's been a lapse in time, you haven't spoken to someone in a while, and you're just reaching out to reconnect. I agree. I think people appreciate when others reach out and just check up on them.
Yeah,
How are things going work wise? How are things going in your personal life?
yeah,
How's your family? How's your partner? How are your kids?
yeah,
And if you know their interests, hey, I know you like to run. When's the last time you ran a race?
right.
Well, I know you like to travel. What's the last place that you've been to?
Yeah,
So, just getting to know people as individuals
mm,
and reaching out and checking up on them, it makes a world of difference. People
it does.
appreciate it.
One of the things I've found, and warning, there's a short story that comes along with this, which is when you're networking and you're reaching out because you've had connections, but you're asking for something. Make sure that you ask for whatever you want specifically, because lots of people want to help you, but if you go, "Hey, Michael, can you help me?" Well, that's too general. Like you may get nervous and go, I don't know. Right. Well, are you gonna ask me to help you move? Or are you asking me for money? Are you like what is it? So the story I have is Tip O'Neill, who was the Speaker of the House of of Congress for like 35 years, was at an event. He's from Boston. Was at an event, and this woman came up and said, "I didn't vote for you in the last election." And he's like, "Why not?" She said, "You didn't ask." And I love that story because exactly, we don't get what we don't ask for. And even if it's you're really nervous about asking, the worst someone's going to say is no, and you're no worse off than you were before you asked. You didn't have what you needed. You don't have it now. You're no worse off. Amazingly, people may go, "Sure, I can help you," or "Here's what I can do," or "No, I'm not the right person. Let me put you in touch with that person." And as you know, having worked in the corporate world in some big corporations, just because you worked at Chevron doesn't mean that you know everyone, and you kind of know your team, maybe your division, but you don't know, field, the field engineers or whatever. But you're like, hold on, let me find out, let me use my network inside to find out who you should talk to. And then you can, find that person, go, "Hey, I've got this, this friend of mine has a great opportunity. Could he or she talk to you or whatever?" So I know that happened to me when I worked at Intel. People call me all the time, and I'm like, "There's 30,000 people. Like, I don't know who that person you need to talk to, but let me, it's an adventure. Let me see if I can figure out who that person you should talk to is."
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. I think it's critical to be upfront about your intentions. There are different at different phases of my life. There are different things that I've needed. So I've moved plenty of times for work opportunities, for school. I've lived in New York, Pennsylvania, Delaware, Texas, Washington, California. So sometimes I'm networking because I live in a brand new city in a brand new state that I've never been. I don't know the places to go.
Yeah.
I don't know where to eat food. I don't like, and I'm just trying to meet people and build a new group and support system in that city.
Absolutely.
Um,
So I'm interested. Where did you live in California?
I lived in Oakland, so I was in the Bay
Uh,
Area.
yeah, I'm in the Bay Area, so I'm like, okay. When I saw
Ah,
that you worked at Chevron, I'm like, I bet you he was probably going to like San Ramon or something like that.
I interned with Chevron in San Ramon, but I was only 3 months for an internship.
Yeah.
I returned to the Bay Area to work for Walmart. So the office
Oh,
is
okay.
in San Bruno, and I lived in Oakland.
Okay. Cool. Cool.
Man.
Do you miss the Bay Area?
Oh, absolutely. The Bay. So there's good and bad with the Bay.
Yeah,
So
I get it.
I
I feel you. I
I
feel you.
I love the options. So I'm originally from New York, so I'm from like a big city. So to
Yeah.
be in the Bay and you have San Francisco, Oakland, Santa Clara, San Mateo, Berkeley, like you can go so many different places, and there's just completely different like vibes and options of things to do. I'll be on. The thing I don't miss is the cost of living. Like,
I look. No one said paradise was cheap. That's all I gotta say.
yeah, I agree. It's a world of difference living in Texas and there's no state tax compared to
I
California. Is my paycheck looks completely different.
I get you. I get you. Look, I grew up in Boston, but I really don't like the weather on the East Coast. I don't like snow. I don't like humidity. So here I am, and it's perfect. And people are like, "Oh, but it's so expensive." I'm like, "Yeah, but every place has its challenges, right? And be it weather, cost, whatever. Oh, there isn't state tax, but Texas has had some challenges with the power sometimes, I mean,
That's very true.
so there's challenges everywhere. So one of the things I talk about is epic journeys and stuff like that. And certainly your varied career has been an epic journey. How did you work for all these different, kinds of financial services, retail, oil and gas, cybersecurity? How did you so did you sort of envision that you'd work in all these different industries, or
Not at
how did
all.
how did you get to where you are if you look back?
Honestly, a lot of it was networking.
Yeah.
It ties into exactly what I said in the book. So I went to Penn State undergrad, and when I was at Penn State, I was president of an organization called Black Male Leadership Symposium, and then I was also treasurer of my fraternity, Kappa Alpha Psi. I put together an event on campus where I brought in representatives from JP Morgan to come and speak to members of both organizations and help prepare them for the next step in their journey as we're getting ready to graduate and let them know what JP Morgan was looking for in professionals. And there's a way for JP Morgan to identify talent that they could potentially bring into the company. One of my fraternity brothers that I've never met, I didn't know, he already worked at JP Morgan. He found out that I would put together the event and he heard such great things about the event. He reached out to me and asked if I had interest in JP Morgan. And
Look at that.
at the time, I hadn't applied to JP Morgan. I wasn't pursuing JP Morgan. I was just trying to put together events on campus because I looked at myself as a leader on campus.
Hmm.
And because there was somebody that happened to be my fraternity, he reached out. He told me about a program. He connected me with the right people. He prepped me for the interview, and that's how I was able to get my foot in the door within JP Morgan. And at that time, I didn't even realize the power of networking. And like I had my reasons for joining a fraternity at the time I did on campus, but I had no vision that this could open up the door for me to build connection with people and be able to get my foot in the door at JP Morgan.
Definitely.
And that's how I was able to get my foot in the door there. And then with Chevron, when I was at Carnegie Mellon for my MBA, one of my former classmates, he used to work for Chevron. And I ended up landing an interview with Chevron. I told him, and he prepped me for that interview. And he told me there's certain things if you work for a company that you know that you can't just find on a website. So he told me specific information about working at Chevron and things that he liked. And when I brought up in the interview, they were looking at me like, how do you know this stuff? And I kind of laughed it off and I said I did my research, but my research was my network. I had
The power of networking. I mean, honestly, I know, we're it's a mutual appreciation society of networking, but it is so true. Like,
Yeah.
and putting out, if you know that you want to talk to a company and put out to your network, hey, I really want to talk to someone at Chevron, Walmart, whatever. Does anyone have a contact, right? You can put it out to on LinkedIn or whatever, right? You can look through your LinkedIn connection, see if there's anyone who has a connection to Walmart, and all of that. But again, sometimes asking, does anyone know? Because you never know who someone who, again, totally unrelated to where the company you want goes, oh yeah, my uncle works there. Or I worked there years ago and, I still have contacts. It is amazing. And again, it's amazing what we get when we ask for the things that we want and need. So now outside of work, Michael, what epic things have you done, traveled to? I mean, we all have done epic things in our life. I think people discount the incredible things that they've achieved. What's one or two things that you look at and go, I'm really proud of doing that?
Yeah, I would say, I mean, number one, writing a book was a big milestone for me.
Absolutely.
Not a lot of people can say they've accomplished that feat. A lot of people in my network were surprised when I said I'm a published author.
There you go.
So I'm very proud of that. I'd say number two, I'm big on personal growth and development, and I'm always looking for trainings I can take, certifications I can obtain. So, I mean, throughout my career, and this is after me obtaining my MBA, I was able to obtain a Lean Sigma, a black belt certification. I was able to obtain project management professional certification. I was able to obtain Tableau desktop specialist certification. I was able to get a contract and commercial management certification. So I'm
Good for
proud of the
you.
fact that I'm continuing to identify ways for me to continue to learn, grow, develop. So I would say that's my second feat. My third, I'm big on fitness and health. I've run multiple marathons.
Oh,
Uh,
we'll talk about that. I've run some marathons too. So let's get into that right now. So how many marathons or half marathons have you run?
I've run 4 full marathons, half marathons, I'd probably say over 20.
Okay.
So
Yeah, I've done 12 halves, 4 fulls, and a 50K ultra.
wow, I never ventured into ultra.
Oh,
That's
well,
very impressive.
I can tell you that I got into that because I was training for a marathon, and my running coach had run, like Ironmans and did ultras, and he goes, "Look," he goes, "you got this." He's like, "If you can run a marathon, it's only 5 miles more." Well, 6 months before the ultra, that sounded, yeah, absolutely, of course. The day I was running it, let me tell you, those last 5 miles were really long and really hard.
I could believe every marathon I've done, I usually hit the wall around mile 20, 21. So
Yeah,
the last 5, 6 miles to finish the marathon is a hurdle. So the
yeah.
idea of running another 5 after that, I'm not pursuing a ultra ultra
No,
marathon at
no,
this
no. Well,
point.
also, like to make sure that, full disclosure, this was not what I call a billy goat, where most ultras are like you're running up mountains and stuff. I was I was mainly on like kind of bike paths and stuff like that. There was some off-road kind of stuff, but it really wasn't a huge portion of the race, so it wasn't hard. I was also really slow. So, but again, finishing is what counts, I think marathoning is I'm not running marathons or halves anymore. I'm older and it hurts too much. But for you, what got you into wanting to run a marathon?
So it's an interesting story. So my older brother Dwayne, he's a running fanatic. His goal is to run a marathon in every state.
Cool.
I think
50.
at this point he's at maybe 28, 29 states.
Yeah.
And then he started turning his passion into family trips where like
Yep.
the whole family would go with him and we cheer him on in different states. And then at a certain point, he started convincing me because he knew I'm in decent shape. I
Yeah.
work out, I play basketball. It's like, oh, you should try a race. Start off with a 5K.
Yeah.
And then I did a 5K. And then I moved up to a 10K. And I was like, oh, I think I could do a half. And then when I did a half, and I was like, oh, I could probably do a full. And
Yeah.
then became all right. This is something that I want to achieve. I want to see if I can push myself mentally, physically, to do something that I just never would have imagined that I could do.
Absolutely.
And then I just really started getting into it. Now we do brother trips together where we travel to different states. And even though I don't run fulls anymore, I do halves. He'll
Yeah.
do a full, I'll do a half. We just ran a race in Tulsa, Oklahoma in October. So
Cool.
was that about 6 months ago?
Yeah, no, that's
Um,
awesome.
but yeah, we usually
That's awesome.
run about 2 races a year.
Yeah, that it's great, and it is. I have to say, it's strangely addicting. Like it seems for most people, they're like, "What do you mean?" I'm like, "Well, you figure out that you can finish your first half, and then you're like, well, that was really fun. All right, what's next?" And I know that for me, I'd always dreamed of getting to, to run a marathon, right? But it was one of those things. It was like, yeah, oh, someday I'd like to do that. But then I was working in the corporate world and just didn't have time to work out. I mean, I try and work out at lunch, but anyone who's worked in the corporate world knows that I was doing it to reduce my stress, but I was so stressed trying to get to the gym on campus to do the workout to reduce my stress, to get back to my desk to make a meeting, all of that. I was like, okay, this isn't working. It's counter to what I'm trying to do. So I had a manager who was a runner, was like, look, you should run because no matter where you are, if you're traveling, you could still go for a run. And it doesn't, you throw your shoes and some clothes, it doesn't take a lot of room. And it's a great way to, see a city that you're in. Cause I don't know if you traveled for business. I had to travel quite a lot. And I honestly, I may have been in cool cities like Berlin or, Shanghai or whatever. I saw the office I was in and my hotel and maybe a restaurant or two, but you know,
Yeah, I completely agree, and that's one of the things. So there's two things I love about running. One, like one of my passions is traveling, And by going on this venture with my brother and traveling in different states, it's getting me to go to places, cities, states I've never been to before. So I get to
Right.
see new places. And even when I go travel to cities that I've been to before, I get to see a whole nother side of the city. Like when I would go to, let's take a Philly or DC, when I would travel there normally, I may meet up with friends and family at restaurants or places like that. When I run 26 miles through the city, I see a
Mhm.
whole nother side of the city I probably wouldn't have ventured before.
Absolutely.
So it's to me, it's a way to explore, see new places, and even places I've been to before, see another side of it.
Right. So what was your favorite marathon?
Favorite marathon would probably be the last one that I just did. So my wife and I, we traveled to Spain
Oh,
and
wow.
we ran a race there. So we ran a full marathon in Madrid, which very different running a marathon in Spain compared to the US. Everything's a little bit later out there.
Yeah.
So I don't even think we started the race until maybe 11 a.m., which is right at the hottest part of the day when the sun is coming out. So
Trust me, I
definitely,
know because I was fortunate enough to I got a corporate sponsored bib for the 2014 Boston Marathon. So I got to run Boston, which was incredible.
yeah, I can
And
imagine.
I mean, I grew up watching the marathon, and my 10-year-old brain, I'm like, oh, that'd be fun to do someday, with no idea that, by the way, folks, 26.2 miles is a very long way. Very long way. Anyway, I got it because my younger sister's a massage therapist, does work for Adidas, who's the big corporate sponsor, says to me offhandedly when I'm running marathons, hey, would you ever want to run Boston? Well, for people who don't know, most runners are like, yeah, hello, like
Yeah.
to have Boston on my resume. Anyway, but Boston being the oldest continuous marathon in the world and being New England, where we'll do it the way we've always done it. The elites don't go off till 10 o'clock. I didn't go off till noon. And it was not a hot, but it was a warmer day than I would have liked. So yeah, I totally get you where most marathons start at like 7 in the morning and
Exactly.
you're done by, you know, 10, sometime between 10 and noon, depending on how fast you're running or not fast or whatever. But you're kind of done before the real heat, or the heat is just setting in when you're almost done. One thing to start a race and you're like, it's already hot and it's only going to get hotter.
Exactly. So yeah, ran right. I felt like the hottest part of the day, and then in Spain they have siestas.
Yep.
So a lot of restaurants will close down for like a couple hours before they open up for dinner at 7, 8 o'clock. So when we finished the race,
And
we
you're
can't even find a
starving.
place to eat, and we're like struggling, looking around, like how is everything closed right now? So
Totally.
definitely a little bit different, but it was absolutely amazing experience, and something completely different than all the races that I've done here in the US, so I
Definitely.
definitely enjoyed it.
Definitely. And I think we learn a lot about ourself, our resilience. And I mean, I think there's a lot of metaphors, at least for me in my professional career, that I pull from marathoning, that we've all had what I like to call the grindy miles. Like you're running and it's just not, this isn't a good mile or two for you. It's hard. It may be hot, your feet start to hurt, you may be getting a little crampy, or you lost your pace. You just can't, like, you just can't find your breath or your pace, and you're like, oh, man. But you do keep moving forward the same way you do in life, right? I mean, it's not sunshine and unicorns every day. But I
Yeah.
think there's a lot of learning that comes from putting it, I don't want to say putting yourself through that, but taking on that challenge and discovering that you can actually achieve it, even when it gets hard.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. There's a big component of racing to me is mental toughness, where it's mind over matter and you're pushing yourself through and overcoming an obstacle. And you could definitely relate that to any work situation. Like you said, sometimes at work you may be stressed, you may feel as though you're overwhelmed with the amount of work that you can do, but you can push through it, you can overcome, you can find a way to work smarter, not harder, to make sure you're getting the job done. But there's so many ways you can apply what you're doing on a course when you're running races to anything that you do in life.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, Michael, I want to thank you so much. This has been a really fascinating conversation talking about professional and personal goals and achievements. I want to thank you so much. How can people get a hold of you? How can they find your book?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So I have my own website. It's Michael V is in Victor, michaelvmorgan.com. So feel free to go on my website. I have a contact me form. You can reach out to me directly. You can also find me on LinkedIn, Michael Morgan PMP, because I have the PMP certification. So it's an easy way to find me. So Michael Morgan PMP on LinkedIn. Feel free to send me a message, reach out, connect. I'm here to help. I enjoy helping people. I want to, make sure that everyone achieves and excels in their goals. And I've been through a lot of experience in my career, so I can definitely assist. So don't hesitate to connect with me and reach out, and I'd love to hear from you. And hopefully we can talk soon.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much. I want to remind everyone that if you're ready to begin your epic journey, go to epicbegins.com. There's a host of tools there. Reach out, get a hold of me. I want to help you step into your epic. And as always, I want to remind you that epic choices lead to the epic life that you want.
Get your gift copy of the award-winning book Epic Begins with One Step Forward at epicbegins.com. That's a wrap on this episode of Epic Begins with One Step Forward with your host, Xander Sprague, best-selling author, internationally acclaimed public speaker, and licensed professional clinical counselor. To make your next conference or event epic, send an email to Xander at zander@epicbegins.com. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss the next episode. Remember, epic choices, epic life.